Welcome to the Rich Mind Podcast.
So the question today is, what would you do if failure wasn't an option? What if you knew you could not fail? And that's the question that's going to be posed here today. You probably caught the last episode, and the last one, we kind of posed the same question. I started to hit Greg with questions about that, and it just kind of turned into an interview style, meaning I started to just basically interview him for the podcast, which wasn't my intent. It's just kind of how it went. And so when we were prepping for today's episode, he's like, well, how about we just flip the table and I start asking you questions based on this same idea. As if failure wasn't an option, what exactly would you be willing to put yourself into or take the chances for or whatever, right? What would life look like if failure wasn't an option? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty curious on what I would come up with as well. I didn't put much thought into it. And so, yeah, I'm just going to be pretty much just coming right off how I feel in the moment. I've got a couple of thoughts that might come to mind, but yeah, we'll see how today's goes. So, Greg, take over the reins. You're going to become the host of the Rich Mind Podcast and interview me. It'll be fun.
Nice. I can feel the power shifting across the screen right now. I have the power to ask the questions. I love it. Yeah. So like you said, you kind of did this with me and it just turned into our conversation and it lasted, 30, 35 minutes or whatever. So yeah, I want to throw it back at you, whether it's a hobby or a career or whatever that looks like, if you were guaranteed not to fail or be judged, what's one thing that you would start tomorrow?
So that is a hard question, as you can imagine. So folks, if you're out there with me, just even think that for yourself. Like if you knew that failure was an option, and that just becomes really a challenging question. I pose that, what do you really want question a lot. And I do that to myself too. And that really goes right along with this question as well. So as I mentioned, I didn't put much thought into it. I'm very lucky in the fact that my life is really good. I have very little things to complain about. It's really been set up exactly the way I want it. I pretty much am able to do what I want to do with whom I want to do it. I've got a few passion projects, one of them being this podcast that I absolutely love. I get to watch my grandson, Rowan. I've got a granddaughter coming, which she's going to be added to the mix. So that's going to be interesting. Can you imagine me with two little kids, a 2-year-old and an infant? Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work out, but I'll figure it out. But as far as if I couldn't fail. So thinking back as far as I possibly can, when I was a kid, the one thing I always wanted to do was race cars. I've always wanted to be a race car driver to some extent. As you may or may not know, classic cars is kind of a hobby of mine. I love classic cars. My 69 Camaro, if you're watching us on video, I've got my little 69 plaque back here, 69 Camaro plaque that shines brightly for every episode. And the reason why is because that's just a big passion of mine. I love classic cars. That was something that my dad instilled in me when I was a little kid. But I can also remember 8, 9, 10, so pre-driving era of my life, I just always wanted to race cars as well. So let me add a little bit more context to that. So I've got a little 2-seat roadster, little Mazda Miata that I just love. It's like a little race car in it of itself, right? It's not real heavy. It's a light little car. It handles on like it's on rails. It's not the fastest thing in the whole wide world. It's a 5-speed, so it's a lot of fun. But I love just taking it on country roads out here in Indiana and not pushing it to being dangerous, but at the same time, taking curves and weaving in and out of people every now and then on the interstate, going a little crazy, but paying attention at the same time. If you ask my wife, she's probably not feeling as safe as I am behind the wheel, but at the same time, I'm having fun doing it. So that would probably be if I could not fail, what would I do? That's probably the first thought that comes to my mind is I would try to figure out a way to get into the car industry somehow, but basically also racing cars. Yeah, I'll leave it there. I've got some other things I would like to say, but let's see what questions you have, and then I'll throw some more context in there as well.
Yeah, well, I had a feeling it was going to be car related, just because, we've hung out, a few times in person and everything. And the one time here in Florida, we went to the Mecum, classic auto show and everything. And you were like a kid in a candy store. You were pointing out this and that, and this is how you can tell this year from that year. So I was definitely, the student trying to learn everything. And, but I can tell you were definitely in your element.
I call them
yeah,
pop quizzes. I can give you a pop quiz right now, Greg. I took the family there, and they know all the pop quizzes. I give them a pop quiz on what car, what year, what make,
I
what
can imagine.
engine. Oh, yeah. So yeah, I did that with you one time. Can you imagine doing that with me all the time? And they keep coming back. They keep wanting to go with me. I don't understand. They're getting better all the time as far as learning what year Camaro or Chevelle or whatever Mustang. You name it. Yeah, those are pop quizzes in my life. So yeah, you went through that, and I appreciate you doing that. It's so much fun.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I think the energy is contagious, and I'm not a huge car guy, but on a scale from like 0 to 100, I'm probably at like 60, 65. So you put me in that, arena. Yeah, I can talk about cars and ask questions and pick out my own car of my dreams and all that kind of stuff. So it
And
was a lot of fun.
that's more than I thought you would say. I appreciate you going with me. I felt like I was dragging you to this Mecum
Not at all.
auction. And yeah, I really felt like I was dragging you there. I thought we had fun during the day, but at the same time, I knew that wasn't quite your thing. But yeah, for you to 60, 65, that's more than I thought you were going to say. So yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. And honestly, I would have told you no if I didn't want to go. So it's like, but anyway, I can definitely tell you were in your element. So racing cars, is that the kind of the avenue you would go down, or would you want to work for like a Mecum or a Barrett Jackson in one way or another? Like, is that an option as well, or just strictly racing?
So if I had to answer that with one answer, and I might dive into making it more than one answer, but the thought is racing the cars. I don't. So my dad, growing up, used to get, when I was growing up, I should say, not him growing up, but when I was growing up, he would get a car every summer. Basically, he would go through the classified ads in the newspaper, find a car for a few $100, drag it home, basically limp it home because it wasn't really running good condition, or obviously it was torn up pretty bad. He would fix them. So that's what he would did during the summer. And so I would just sit out there in the garage with him. Wouldn't necessarily pull engines or anything like that, tear interiors apart. It was more cosmetic, but it was fun for me as a kid. And that's kind of where I got that itch. But as far as racing cars, that was just something that it was like, let me just go back a little bit further. So go-karting even. So when I was a kid, we would go to the go-karts every now and then. And I can just remember, and I still get this way. If I were to jump into a go-kart right now, it'd be the same exact way. Trying to figure out that turn, like the exact point to pivot the car, obviously the exit point, the entry point, the acceleration, the braking. And that was a go-kart. I mean, I just remember being so excited and having so much fun trying to figure that out on every single lap. Uh, so much so that yes. So even as I've gotten older here, my daughter Adrian, for my 50th birthday, so that would have been not this year, but the year before, she took me to, I think it's called Extreme Racing or Extreme Experience, something like that. I know Extreme is in the name. And they have supercars, basically Ferraris, Porsches, Lamborghinis. And basically what you get to choose two of the cars that you want to ride or drive. And I chose a Porsche GT3 and a Lamborghini. I forget exactly what kind of Lamborghini it was, but I definitely know it was a Lamborghini. But we would get three laps. You'd get a warm-up lap, a hot lap, and then a cool down lap, which was so much fun. I had a gentleman next to me. He was actually a race car driver, but he was in there talking in my ear, telling me where to pivot in, right? So they would have cones along the track. This is just the local track here in Indiana. And so then your braking points and your entry points and your exit points. And so you would just kind of try to hit those points. 3 laps goes very fast, especially when you're going 100 plus mile an hour. But I will tell you that was probably the most fun I've ever had. And if I could do that, yes. I mean, I would do that all the time. So yeah, I just haven't. So if failure wasn't an option, money wasn't an option, failure was an option, yeah, I would probably try to figure that out. To then go a little bit deeper, even with the auctions. Once again, I love the classic cars. So I would love to figure out a way to be involved with the auctions when they come to town. Mecum is, so folks, if you're not familiar, so Mecum auctions, I believe it's out of Wisconsin. You've got Barrett Jackson, they're out of Arizona. But Mecum, they do auctions all over the place, the entire nation, basically, north, south, east, and west. They're almost doing them once a month. I don't know if I could commit to doing it like that much, like being on the travel part,
Hmm.
but I would love to figure out. They're always here in May for us here in Indiana or Indianapolis. I would love to figure out a way to get involved with that. I've looked, but I just haven't really pursued anything. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Any more thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's interesting because I actually did that extreme experience when I lived in Phoenix as well.
Oh, you
So
did? I don't think
yeah,
we've ever talked about that.
I don't think we have. No, me and another buddy of mine. Yeah, same exact setup. I think we only had one car, and the day that we went, for some reason, the Lamborghini was overheating or something. We saw it with the hood up, and we're like, "Damn it, we can't race the Lamborghini." So we ended up in a Ferrari F430, like cherry red. It wasn't a stick or anything because they don't really want people messing around with the clutch,
Yeah.
which is kind of a bummer. But same thing. There was a driver sitting next to me and kind of coaching me and telling you when to hit it, when to slow down.
Yes.
Definitely a lot of fun.
Yes.
So
I didn't realize you had done that. So yes,
yeah.
it's a ton of fun. So that it's ironic the day I went, the Ferrari was down. So I
Oh,
was going to get in the Ferrari, and actually I got the Lamborghini because the Ferrari, I wanted to do the Ferrari. So the Porsche, and then I was going to do the Ferrari, and obviously then I had the Lamborghini. So that's super funny. That's awesome. Yeah, we had never even talked about that before. So you know exactly what I'm talking about as far as
yeah.
that warm up lap, hot lap, and then your cool down. And then that guy talking in your ear. You've got a helmet on. I
Hmm.
mean, you're strapped in like it's a race car.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's super cool. Anyways, you're supposed to be
So,
asking the questions. What am I doing?
well, I can tell from like just from knowing you and then your answer, obviously, I think you'd be happy doing either, right? You can be the coach sitting shotgun and helping people going through the hot lap and the cool down lap, or you can be the guy at Mecum helping people, um, with information about cars or driving cars at Mecum. I think anything in the car world for you, whether it's racing or just being around classic cars, I think either one of those you would probably be like, waking up every morning and be like, all right, let's go. This is going to be a fun day. I mean, am I wrong about, those two avenues?
No, not at all. And ironically, my wife, we were joking this last week or so. She's a wedding coordinator and everything wedding, and that's just her life. And she absolutely loves it. She took to me. She goes, "Is it wrong that I actually enjoy what I do?" It's like I actually enjoy it. It's like work. There's work days that you just the grind, right? It's not necessarily always so much fun. But she goes, "I actually really enjoy what I do. Is that bad?" And I'm like, "No, that's what we're all looking for." So to answer your question, Greg, yes, I think that if I had the chance or the ability to touch it in certain ways, right? I don't know if I could commit as much time. Like I've got the responsibilities of my grandchild, Rowan, new one on the way, granddaughter, super excited about her. So I've made those commitments, but I'm sure I might be able to pivot. But that's kind of the whole point if the failure wasn't an option. So yeah, I think that I would get up every day. I like watching golf on the weekends. That's just kind of a pastime of mine. I just enjoy it. I don't necessarily like playing because I'm terrible at it, but I enjoy watching the best in the world. And that was another thing. Scotty Scheffler, number one player in the world, he said that. I heard him say that. He goes, I absolutely love getting up, and he calls it going to work. I get up and go to work every day. And his work just happens to be hitting a golf ball, the
Right.
best in the world. And he loves doing that. So I think that you're right. If I could figure out that, yeah, I'd be a pretty happy guy for sure.
So is that something that you would like want to pursue? I know you said like obviously you're not going to be traveling around to different cities and stuff, but if Mecum or when Mecum comes to Indy, maybe you could like volunteer, or I don't know if you know anybody in that world or in that arena, but I mean, as we talk about here on the podcast, it's a lot about relationships and who you know, and oh, let me introduce you real quick, my buddy Randy, and blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden you're sitting behind the car, behind the wheel of a classic car, and you're in heaven. So is that on the horizon for you, or is that just kind of like what are your thoughts there?
Can you imagine if I was like driving like a 69, the one I want, right? Red, black interior, 4-speed up on the block. So the
Yeah,
block is
I
where you
can.
go when the car's getting auctioned. And I'm driving the car, but I'm like bidding at the same time. I've got my hand out the window saying, yes, yes, whatever price. Yes, I'll take it. Yes. And
Yep,
I'll just drive it home. I'm not even going to stop. I'll sign the receipt on the way out and say, here, take it. I'm out.
you'd
But
be in heaven.
yeah, I would be. Man, it's bringing tears to my eyes thinking about it. I mean, honestly. So yes, I would love to do that. It's ironic you talked about people that you know. It was maybe so I've been going every year probably for a minimum of 5, 8, probably close to 10 years. I didn't even know about Mecum auctions since they've been coming to town for I think 30 years. I didn't even know about it for the longest time. I just saw a commercial way back in the day. That's a whole nother story. But the point is I've been going for a long time. And 2 or 3 years ago, I was walking out of the arena, which is where the cars are being auctioned, and you've got the row of cars coming inside, so to be auctioned off. And I just happened to be walking by one, and I looked inside, and I knew the driver, and I'm like, I know that's Dan. And so I'm like, I get all excited, and I peek down into the window. I'm like, Dan. He was an old store manager of mine back when I was working at Mars Supermarkets, and we used to always back and forth because he had a '58 Chevy. I had my Camaro back in the day. It wasn't a '69, it was an '80 Camaro, and we were just always talking cars all the time. And I peeked down. I'm like, Dan, good to see you, man. And then the next question, how in the world are you doing this? Because I would love to be the one doing what you're doing. Because he basically what these guys do is they just get in the car wherever it's parked outside, and then they drive it into the arena, basically, and then they drive it over the block to get it auctioned off. And so basically, you're with that car for I don't know how much time, but I'm sure it's an hour or two, starting it, moving it. I mean, I can only that to me that sounds like fun. As stupid as that sounds, to me that sounds like fun. And so, anyways, fast forward with that part of the conversation. I was like, Dan, how in the world are you doing this? And he goes, it's just a local club that he's involved with. He lives about an hour and a half north of where I'm at now here in Indianapolis. And he said it's a local car club that he's involved with, and they volunteer their time. And to me, it's not about the money. I wouldn't necessarily need to do it for the money. It would be more of a timing thing. And I'm not necessarily involved in those car groups right now. As I've mentioned, I've got my little Miata, and I'm in a Miata group online, but the Miata group isn't necessarily a classic car group. So it's kind of a, apples and oranges type thing. It's not exactly the same thing, but doesn't mean that I couldn't find those groups or be in those groups. I just haven't looked for them to this point, but that would be a lot of fun. I know the auction, they've got, they call them bidders assistants. So the guys and gals that are out there in the group or in the audience, helping the bidder or helping the auctioneer collect the bids, right, as they're going on and off. That would be a lot of fun too. But I think they're like they work for Mecum. It's like I see them at every time I turn on the TV, right? So I think that they travel with them. That's the part I don't think that I'd be able to get committed to. But yeah, to figure out somehow, some way, yeah, I would love to be involved. That would be so much fun.
Well, I think, I mean, if you really wanted to move this forward, there's a couple ideas. Obviously, the Miata group that you have could be a stepping stone to a bigger group or a classic car group, right? So that's one thing. And you're obviously making connections and contacts and maybe friends in that group, online or whatever. But also that guy, Dan, I mean, I didn't know he was an hour and a half north of you. So, I mean, that's pretty close.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's a long ways away. No, you think that's pretty close, huh? Yeah.
No, I mean, an hour and a half drive to
Yeah, that's
hang
true.
out or pick his brain or, meet some of his car friends or whatever. So, I mean, if this is an avenue that you did want to explore, I mean, I think Dan is the first door that you would knock on, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, we had a relationship. It's been a while now, back in my retail days, but at the same time, yeah, even just that short connection, it's like he recognized me, I recognized him, right? It's almost like we just picked up where we left off many years ago. So yeah, he would definitely be a resource to at least go down that avenue to see what it would take, for sure. Yeah, I agree. That's a great suggestion.
And one thing I was going to ask you too, because I know here where I live, they do have like classic car shows, not like big car shows, but the little ones at like the Five and Diner kind of thing on Sundays where they'll just have like, the 57 Chevys and all those kind of guys just get together. I'm sure they have something like that in Indianapolis because Indy's a pretty big city. I mean, that would be another way to kind of, dip your toe in that water and just meet some guys and ask questions and be around those cars. Have you ever stopped there on a Sunday and grab a burger and talk cars?
I haven't, and I should. So here's the challenge I have. Here's the limiting thought in my mind. So I love my wife, but she doesn't necessarily get into them that much, right? So I feel like I would be dragging her along because we do a lot of the things together. I don't know if I would enjoy it as much. I don't know, do it by myself. That's the thought that came to my mind, is about doing it by myself. It's like taking you to the auction. That was fun. I enjoy going with people if they're willing to listen to me. I guess if I'm talking their ear off and they don't necessarily want to hear what I have to say, that wouldn't be so much fun. I have gone to Mecum a few times by myself, and I've enjoyed that as well. I'll sit in the audience and I love watching the auction. It's like a big car show. So you're right. I just enjoy the smell of an old car. I mean, every old car has that same classic car smell. yeah, just bringing back memories of when I was a kid, even with my dad. He was always teaching me what to look for, check out this. I mean, I just, all those things, just, that's just what I've always done. So yes, there are car shows here locally. I just need to probably do a better job at finding them. I would assume that there are probably even with my Miata, I'm sure there's even a local Miata group that I could probably get involved with as well, and that would be a lot of fun. One thing that was coming to my mind even as I was talking about that is, and I don't know if you recognize this or not, but have you ever noticed that on the interstate or even on the road, when two motorcycles pass each other, they put their left arm out and kind of wave to each other? Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Same thing with Miatas. Every time I pass a Miata, it's like we're waving at each
Like a little
other,
club.
flipping our light. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the same thing. I passed one not yesterday, a couple days ago on the road, just passing, right? Just normal passing. And you can obviously a Miata, it sticks out as far as meaning it's a unique looking car compared to the cars on the road these days. It's a little small thing. And yeah, he saw me, I saw him. We're flashing our lights and waving out the door. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things. It's almost like it's its own little group. It's almost a little club itself. And so, yeah, I would assume that there probably is something. I just need to do a better job at locating those to answer your question. So, yeah, I just need to do better.
Yeah, that's cool. And I mean, I'm not pressuring you to do this, tomorrow or anything, but um, another thing too is, timing in life, right? So with your grandson, maybe in 5, 10 years, you and him are talking cars like, you and your dad were, kind of involved, like tinkering, and your dad was bringing him home. Who knows? That could be, a connection with you and Rowan. It could not be a connection. It depends if he's into it or not. But, that's one avenue that you guys could explore and see if he's into it. Or I don't know, is your son into cars as like you are, or?
No, not well, no. Meaning I didn't. So when he was growing up, through the age range that I was growing up with my father teaching me those things, I wasn't around a lot. So that's one of those things that, as far as my timing of life, I wasn't, because I was working. I was working all the time. And so I didn't do a lot of those things when he was that age. He ironically now works at a car dealership. He's a service advisor. So, and he does great. So he understands things mechanically about cars because of what he has to do for his job, for his work. But I didn't necessarily teach him a lot of those things. Now I will take him to the car shows and give him pop quizzes, like I gave you the pop quizzes, and he does pretty well. Like, he's very smart, so it's just noticing things. It's not difficult. I say pop quizzes; it's not that hard. Once you see it a handful of times, right, it's pretty easy to tell the difference. But he enjoys that, so it's not maybe to the level that mine is, but it's not for lack of interest. I just haven't exposed him to that as much as I was, for sure, when I was his age, or when I was a lot younger.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, timing is everything in life, right? So, and who knows? It could be your granddaughter who's into cars, right? It's not
Yeah,
a guy thing at all. It could be,
Well, Rowan loves them, meaning he's playing with his cars and his trucks now, and he's not quite 2 yet. So who knows what that's going to end up being when he gets older? But he loves his little playing with his little cars now, trains, But I think that probably most boys do or did. I just that's a broad statement. That's an assumption. I don't know if that's true or not, but I just would assume that's the case. So yeah, we'll see if we can't get him into it. I'm definitely, so I'll have the auction playing in the background. That's something like noise for me. He likes his cartoons, but every now and then in the afternoon, I'll throw on YouTube. And so I'll have the auction play, and he'll sit there and watch it. He enjoys it, hearing the auctioneer call off the bids and seeing that action. Trust me, I'll have him in the seats with me.
nice.
He'll be begging to leave, or else he'll be begging to stay. We'll see.
So I guess my last question for you, because I don't have any children, and I know you have three, and they're adult children. So have you ever posed this question to your children? If, like, hey, Riley, if you were ever guaranteed not to fail, what would you do in life? Where would you live? Who would you be with? And to your daughters as well. Has that ever crossed your mind, or have you ever done that exercise?
Maybe not to the bluntness, or you know what I mean,
Very
the
direct.
straightforwardness. Yeah, very direct that way. So a direct answer would be probably not. But I will say that I've tried to do my best with them to encourage them to keep being willing to pivot, being willing to change. What I've discovered, and this has just been my experience with my family, with my wife, and then obviously watching my kids as well, is that it feels like work and careers, you just run through phases. I call them, so you have the honeymoon phase at first, the first maybe year and a half, maybe shorter, just kind of depends. That's where it's exciting. It's fun. It's almost like a brand new relationship. It's exciting. You're learning, you're meeting new people, but then you start to lose that and it starts to fade. And then it starts to become a grind. And so what I'm always encouraging my kids to do, and what I've always done even for myself and then my wife as well, is that when it starts to get into that grind phase, when you really feel like you're not enjoying it at all, to be willing to pivot. And I'm not here to tell you what the pivot is, but just be open to new opportunities. Don't set yourself back if you can avoid it. But at the same time, sometimes taking a step backwards, I've done that multiple times. My wife has as well, taking a step backwards into a lesser paying or more time. Like maybe you have to work more hours to, you know what I mean? So, but you just start that new honeymoon phase over again. And so that's where, for me, for my family, and that's what I try to encourage them as much as humanly possible. But I don't think I've ever posed the question, if you couldn't fail, what exactly would you go do? And hopefully maybe they're listening to this and they would consider that. And I need to pose that question to them, and I'll pose it to anybody that's listening to us here today for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool question to ask people, friends and family. And, obviously our listeners here, we're posing this to you as well. So it's something to think about or journal or even ask your husband or wife or kids. It's just like one of those fun, I don't want to say like party games, but, just one of those questions where there's no right or wrong answer and everyone's going to have a different answer, obviously, based on, what they love or want to do and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I was kind of curious if you ever did that. So, and maybe do in the future and, hop back on here and share exactly what happens. So that'll be
Yeah,
fun.
exactly. See what they decide to do. That would be fun for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I was trying to think any other questions I need to ask you here, but,
Yeah, you're the host, man. What do you got?
I
Anything?
know. I mean, is this the car show angle or maybe the racing angle? Is that something that you could see yourself doing even, part-time, 5 hours a week in the next 2 years, 3 years, like kind of like seeking that out a little bit more? Or what are your thoughts?
I
You know,
would love to. Here's a little bit of an ironic twist. And so my daughter, Adrian, her boyfriend, her current boyfriend, actually races cars.
nice.
Yeah.
All right. There was another in.
Yeah. So there's another angle. He races cars. I forget what it's called. But anyways, it's not professional by any means, but at the same time, they're racing for money. So I guess it is professional to a certain
Cool.
extent. I mean, it's not like NASCAR or, whatever. It's pretty low key. But at the same time, yeah, he goes out there. I think they race a Corvette of some kind. I'm trying to think of what year it is. Maybe an 07 or 08 Corvette. But anyways, they do 3 races a year. I think we got another one coming up here soon after into September here, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, cool.
So yes, I'm in communication with him. I don't know. So he's not the owner of the car. He just drives the car there's 2 guys that own the car and he drives for them. I've told him I wouldn't mind just coming and helping, being in part of the pit crew,
There you go.
right? Seeing that happen. I think they drive in like on a Friday. They might practice on a Friday evening, race all day Saturday. And then I don't know if they race or just come home on Sunday. I forget. But basically it's an entire weekend. But yeah, I think that would be fun as well, just to get close to it, to watch it, to see it. And if I had a chance to hop in and take a lap or 2, that would be fun as well. I'd be a little nervous being in somebody else's car, but I think I would do well because I would make sure, right, minus something that would be out of my control. Obviously, I don't want to spin it out or wreck it or anything like that. But at the same time, that would be fun as well. So yeah, we'll see how that turns out. This is a relatively new relationship that my daughter's in, but at the same time, we enjoy each other. So who knows? Who knows where that will lead as well? That's definitely another option.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like that's another community that, should you decide to dip your toe in there, you obviously have an in, you can kind of walk up and even be on the ground floor, right? Of, hey, what's going on? Who owns the car? You can ask all those questions. And so you definitely have, yeah, a lot of avenues to get into this if if you choose to, sounds like.
Sounds like I just need to make a decision to do it,
Yeah.
right? To a
Yeah. I
certain
mean,
extent. Once again, the timing might not be 100% the best for me, but yeah, I just need to kind of, like you said, do a little bit more research and see if I can't figure out how to make that happen.
right. Yeah. And this is kind of why we hop on here, is just to pose these kind of questions so our listeners can, it doesn't have to be your career. It could be a career change and pivot like we're talking about, or it could be, a 5 hour a month hobby that you go to a race on a Friday night and that kind of checks your box and, and your entertainment and fun and everything. And so that's what we really want you guys to think about on the listening side of this is, what is that for you? And, if you were guaranteed not to fail, yeah, what would you do? It's a fun exercise. You can journal about it. You can think about it. And again, having conversations with your friends and family about it as well.
Love it. Love
Anything
it.
else you want to add, Randy, or you want to wrap it up?
No, I'm good. There again, you're the host. Is there any other questions you have to pose for that? I love that how you just wrapped that up.
No, I think that was, that's pretty much, we might do a part 2, maybe 6 months later or a year later for both of us. But I really love this interview style and learned a little bit about you as well, which is always cool. So yeah, I think this was a really good one.
Should take my phone and record myself so Mecum's coming back in October as well. They have a fall show. I have to.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, record myself or record some of the cars and kind of show everybody what I'm talking about. It's a lot of fun. But no, just throw that question back to everyone listening to us here today. What would you do if you knew failure wasn't an option? And just sitting with that. As I've mentioned, I ask a lot, what is it that you truly want? And just allowing yourself to dream, allowing yourself to think. Like the thought even here today goes way back to as far back as I can remember. Like I mentioned, it's probably 6, 7, 8, 10 years old. I mean, just a young boy. These are the things that I've always wanted to do. And I've gotten myself in a stage of life that I don't have, so I've always said that. I don't have a problem working. I just don't want to do things that are just, I don't know, endless or useless or I just don't want to do it. I honestly don't want to do it. So if I can figure out a way to make my life and structure it in a way where I can do things that I enjoy, even if it's multiple things. I've mentioned in an episode or 2 ago, as far as my part-time job working at the golf course, I actually enjoyed that. I enjoy taking care of my own yard. And so I was thinking, well, what is it that I could do that would be something similar, that, a little part-time job. And that's what I do. I go and take care of the greens on the weekends at a local golf course. And I actually enjoy that. I don't enjoy the 5 a.m. mornings when the alarm's going off. But besides that, the job itself, I enjoy. And so that's kind of the questions that we would like to pose back to you is, if failure was an option, if you could choose some things that you would really enjoy doing, what would those be? And racing cars, classic cars, I need to go down those avenues. I need a little bit further, at least in my own Miata group. I need to do that and just see if there's anything local for here. That would be a lot of fun. Meet some fellow guys or gals that are into that. That would be a lot of fun. So I'll definitely.
So I do have one more question that popped up if you're up for it.
Oh, yeah. What you got?
So, and this one might dig a little, not deep, but because the way I answered the question was more career. I want to be a coach and help people overcome, personal development and finances and that kind of thing. But if you didn't do this, would you regret this, 20, 30 years later, if you didn't entertain this avenue of, I really like cars, I kind of had these opportunities, it's like a kind of a deeper digging kind of question, but would you regret it like maybe 30 years later, 40 years later, when you're looking back on your life?
That is a deep question.
It is. Yeah. Again, no right or wrong, but
no, I honestly think that I'm trying to think of it here in real time. I honestly think that to a certain extent, yeah, probably it would be a little bit of a regret. As I've learned more and more through my personal development journey and stretching and goals and all of those kinds of things, that, it's, So I'll just answer short and sweet. I think that, it would probably be a regret of some kind. So I just need to continue to push through. I've told and mentioned a couple of people here, I just need to reach out to those folks. I've got one in close proximity with my daughter's boyfriend, and just start having those conversations and see what happens, and be open to whatever that is, and not push back, not let those limiting doubts or limiting fears keep me from at least having the conversation. Right.
Right. Yeah, no, I appreciate you answering that. And one thing I would add to that too is, because one thing I always try to be aware of, and in the past I haven't been great at this, but I'm really want everything to happen right now. And as opposed to this can happen 5 years from now and it's going to be the best thing in the world, but not focusing or making it happen next week. You don't have to call Dan next week and say, hey, I need to do this in the next 6 months. So really being open to whatever that timing is. But that question just kind of came to mind because as I'm in my midlife here, I'm kind of thinking about what am I going to regret not doing, as opposed to trying and failing. I'd rather try and fail than wonder what if. So that was just why I threw that your way.
Love that. So I just need to set that intention. That's kind of the word that's come to my mind. I need to set the intention that that's what I want to go out and accomplish. And by doing that, once again, the things that I've learned, the proper people, the proper situations, the opportunities, we talk about opportunities being everywhere. So those opportunities are everywhere. I just have to be aware of them and then step into them with some certainty and some confidence, ask questions, don't be afraid to fail. All of those things we're talking about. So yeah, I love that, man. So yeah, I think I'll definitely pursue, at least start with some questions with these guys that I do know. And I'll even look and see if I can't find a Miata group here locally. That'll be a lot of fun too. I'll report back, like you said, in a few weeks. We'll see how it goes.
Nice. Sounds like a plan, man. I appreciate that.
Fantastic. So folks, hopefully you found this message valuable here today. Just trying to share some of the insights from within myself. I didn't necessarily have any planned answers or anything like that. I had no idea what Greg was going to ask me. So I appreciate you kind of sticking with us here so far through this episode. If you found value in it, if you wouldn't mind heading out to your podcast platform of choice and leaving us a review, we would greatly appreciate that. Share this message with your family and friends. We're trying to grow the community within the Rich Mind community as far and as wide as possibly can. And you sharing it with your family and friends would help us do that. And we thank you for that so much. Go out there, focus on being great. We appreciate your time and attention today, and we look forward to coming back with the next episode again very soon. Until then, folks, bye now.
Thank you for joining us today on the Rich Mind Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and share it with someone you know. Also, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite platform and never miss an episode. One last thing, don't ever forget that your mind is the first place where wealth is created. Keep dreaming big, take action, and together, let's build wealth, a legacy, and a life we love.